My word is school. Mr. Cooper is super by Dan Gutman. Picture by Jim Palett. Chapter 1. Look up in the sky. My name is Asia and I hate it when an alien spaceship lands in the middle of the playground. You probably think that's some kind of joke, but it's not. A joke would be like, question, why do seagulls fly over the sea? Answer, because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels. Get it? Seagulls, bagels. Anyway, the point is that it was no joke. The other day at elementary school, an alien spaceship actually landed in the middle of the playground. For real? Let me explain. It was right after lunch. Me and the gang were at recess with our teacher, Mr. Granite. I borrowed a football from Michael, who never ties his shoes. I would throw it back and forth with Ryan. We'll eat anything with stuff that isn't food. Michael was playing with the monkey ball with Alexia, this girl who rides a skateboard all the time, and Neil, who we called the noon kid and saw he would wear clothes. Hey AJ, Michael shouted, give me the football back, it's my turn. In a minute, I hollered, we're not done yet. You should give Michael his ball. Although, said Andrea Young, this annoying girl with curly brown hair. She called me by my real name because she knows I don't like it. When you borrow something from somebody, you should return it when they ask for it. When are you going to return your face to ugly person you borrowed it from? I asked Andrea. Oh, snaps, said Ryan. That's mean, said Emily. Andrea, you probably be friend. It was none of Andrea's beeswax. I could tell she was going to say something mean to me, but she didn't get the chance because that when the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. Look up in the sky, shouted Michael. It's a bird, shouted Ryan. It's a plane, shouted Neil the new kid. No, actually, it was a bird and a plane. You see bird and plane in the sky all the time. What's the big deal? I went back to throw the football around with Ryan, but a minute later I noticed Mr. Granite. He was staring up at the sky. He had a weird expression on his face. Look up in the sky, shouted Alexia. It's a bird, shouted Ryan. It's a plane, shouted Neil. No, it's a spaceship, shouted Michael. Yes, it was a spaceship. You probably still think I'm making this up, but it's true. Chapter 2. You should have been there. When Mr. Granite became our third grade teacher 1,100 months ago, I suspect that he was really an alien from another planet. There were two reasons. First, our principal, Mr. Cox, told us there was a flying saucer in the teacher lounge. Second, I noticed that Mr. Granite didn't have any hair growing out of his nose or ears. My dad has hair growing out of his nose and his ears. He even has this little machine he sticks in his nose and ears every few days, so he can give himself a little haircut in there. All men have to trim their nose and ear hair. It's the first rule of being a man. But Mr. Granite didn't have any nose or ear hair at all. Clearly, he was not from planet Earth. To see if my theory was right, the gang and me snuck over to Mr. Granite's house. That day, we were like spies. It was cool, and guess what we saw? Mr. Granite was building a spaceship in his garage. The spaceship was powered by microwave potatoes. We called him Red Hand. Mr. Granite admitted to us that he was born on planet Intenergy, which is Granite spelled backward. He told us he was planning to blast off and go back to internage the next day. The only problem was that Hal bumped into his spaceship just as he was taking off. Mr. Granite parachuted out before his spaceship exploded, and he was forced to stay on Earth and teach Circuit to us. It's a long, sad story, and I call Mr. Granite from another planet. Available and you local bookseller. Order you today. So anyway, back to what happened the other day during recess. We were all looking up in the sky. The spaceship was coming down slowly. It was round and silver and spaceshipy looking. Run for your life! Chanel the new kid. I'm scared, said Emily, who is scared of everything. This is cool, I said. At first, I thought that maybe we were just having some kind of a drill, like we have a fire drill all the time in case there's ever a fire at school. Maybe this was a drill in case that ever an alien spaceship coming to take over the Earth. But it wasn't a drill. It was the real thing. A spaceship was about to land in the playground. You should have been there. We got to see it live and in person. Smoke poured out of the spaceship as it hovered over the playground. Colored lights were flashing. There was a real humming sound. The spaceship touched down gently. All the smoke and lights and humming stopped. I looked at Michael. Michael looked at Ryan. Ryan looked at Neil. Neil looked at Alexia. Alexia looked at me. Then we all looked at Mr. Granite. He was staring at the spaceship. A ramp slid down from the bottom of the ship, and you'd never believe in a million hundred years who walked out. I'm not going to tell you. Okay, I tell you. But you have to read the next chapter. So na boo boo on you. Chapter 3. Mr. Granite is from another planet. It was Mr. Granite. Well, it wasn't our Mr. Granite because he was standing right next to us. But the alien who came down the ramp of the spaceship looked just like Mr. Granite. Our teacher, Mr. Granite, just stood there with a look of wonder on his face. Who are you? We all asked the alien, who looked just like Mr. Granite. I am Mr. Granite, said Alien. You can't be Mr. Granite, said Andrea. Mr. Granite is our teacher, and he's standing right here. I am Mr. Granite, repeated the alien who looked just like Mr. Granite. And you'll never believe in a million hundred years what happened next. 10 more aliens climbed out of the spaceship and came down the ramp, and every one of them looked just like Mr. Granite. Who are you guys? We all asked. I am Mr. Granite. I am Mr. Granite. I am Mr. Granite. I am Mr. Granite. In case you were wondering, all the aliens were saying, I am Mr. Granite. That was weird. Will the real Mr. Granite please stand up? I asked. They're all the real Mr. Granite, said our teacher. Mr. Granite, they have come from my home planet in tonnage. Yes, said the first alien. Everyone in tonnage is named Mr. Granite. In tonnage is granite spelled backward. Wow, a whole planet filled with a guy named Mr. Granite? That must get confusing. I guess when somebody on internet call out, "Hey, Mr. Granite," everyone turn around. So all the men on your planet look exactly the same? Asked Ryan. Yes, said Mr. Granite, and so do all the women. What? Even the women look like Mr. Granite? In fact, said one of the aliens, Mr. Granite, half of us are women. Eek! How do they tell the difference between man and woman? I didn't want to know. Our teacher, Mr. Granite, went over and hugged one of them Alan, Mr. Granite. Then all the other Mr. Granite went over to hug our Mr. Granite. Everyone was hugging everybody else. Mr. Granite, said Mr. Granite. Mr. Granite, said the Alan who looked just like Mr. Granite. Mr. Granite, Mr. Granite, Mr. Granite. All the Mr. Granites were hugging each other and crying because they haven't seen our Mr. Granite in so long. It was the meeting of Elvis impersonator, except they looked like Mr. Granite instead of Elvis. Did the Elfling harm you in any way? One of the Mr. Granite asked our Mr. Granite. No, Mr. Granite told Mr. Granite they were my students, and they were good to me. On Earth, we're very well behaved, said Andrew, who's such a brown-noser that she even kiss off to Alan who on the planet. What about the larger Isling? As one of the Mr. Granite, they haven't very kind to me, said Mr. Granite. The principal of the school even gave me a key to the teacher lounge. The teacher lounge is a magical secret place where they had hot tub, back rub, and all the ice cream and candy you can eat. Are you going to take over the world and turn us a flesh-eating rabbit? I asked one of the Mr. Granite. I saw that in a movie once. It was cool. No, said old Mr. Granite. Are you going to turn us into killer zombie rabbit slaves? Asked Michael. No, said old Mr. Granite. Then why are you here? Asked Alexia. We have come to the island. Mr. Granite didn't have the chance to finish his sentence, because at that very moment our principal, Mr. Cox, came running out into the playground. He has no hair, though. None. His hat is so shiny he squeaks. What's the meaning of this? Asked Mr. Cox. Is this some kind of joke? No, a joke would be like, question, what's the difference between a garter and a fish? Answer, you can tune a fish. Get it? Tune a fish, tune a fish. Anyway, the point is that Mr. Cox totally doesn't know what a joke is. This man and woman are from a planet in Tinarge, and told Mr. Cox. Their names are Mr. Granite. I figured that, said Mr. Cox. They all look just like Mr. Granite. Do what do you owe the pleasure of your company, Mr. Granite? That's grown-up talk for. What are you doing here? We have a very important mission, said one of the alien Mr. Granite. We have come to take you, Mr. Granite, home with us to Tinarge. What?